All right, we reached episode 50 of the Herbalist Hour. And who better to have on than my good friend John Gallagher, who's one of the founders and owners of Learning Herbs, learningherbs.com. I want to say way back in around 2008, I listened to his show called HerbMentor Radio. I was actually an early HerbMentor member. I want to say I listened to like 50 or 60 episodes of the HerbMentor Radio, and it really was one of my first gateways into the herbal community. So John has really inspired a lot of the work that we do here at HerbRally, and I just want to say thanks to John and Kimberly Gallagher for creating Learning Herbs along with HerbMentor. And it was just a joy to have John on the show, get to know him a bit more. We chatted about his childhood, some herbal business advice, the evolution of learning herbs, and really a lot more. So I really hope you enjoy this episode. I know you will. John's just a wealth of information, super funny guy. And we've just been cranking out these episodes, and I'm surprised that we are already at episode 50 of the Herbalist Hour, because it just seems like yesterday where I said, oh man, I should really do this thing called the Herbalist Hour. But hope y'all are enjoying it. If you ever have any feedback for me, never hesitate to reach out to me. You could just email me, mason@herbrally.com. Always love hearing from you. But thanks so much for listening, and a huge thank you and shout out to all of our HerbRally Schoolhouse members for your support. If you'd like to learn more what that even is, you could go to herbrally.com/schoolhouse. Check out some of the member perks there, along with hanging out with us live on these Herbalist Hour interviews. So herbrally.com/schoolhouse. Use coupon code podcast at checkout and get your first 30 days for free. All right, that's going to do it for me. Thanks again to John for joining me on episode 50 of the Herbalist Hour. And thank you, dear listener, for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.
Welcome to the Herbalist Hour. This is where community gather, merging the power of people and flowers, the sweet and the bitter to the salty, the sour. Umami, it's time for the Herbalist Hour.
I just wanted to say that our good friend Emily Ruff up in Vermont in Montpelier, they just had big flooding, and they can't do any of their classes this summer. And that's their income, and they're a nonprofit. And so if anyone watching this would like to help out, if you go to sagemountain.com, and that's of course started by Rosemary Gladstar, and she left it in the care of Emily Ruff, a wonderful, wonderful person, herbalist. You can click there and do a little donation to help them out, because they're just a great people, great organization. It's a United Plant Savers Sanctuary, so much there. And my heart, I saw those images coming in from Vermont, and I just thought of her right away, and she reached out and we're sharing. So just wanted to make sure we got a little shout out to help Sage Mountain.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, actually, I was just emailing with Emily earlier today. We're going to share her little video that she created on the YouTube, the HerbRally YouTube channel, along with publish the audio on the podcast. So hopefully it, brings out the message a little bit more. Yeah. Also, I believe Zach Wood's herb farm had some flooding as well. So maybe I want to say I just saw that as well. And we'll be sure to leave links to what you mentioned, John, in the show notes and the YouTube podcast description and whatnot. So along with efforts to help Zach Woods as well. So really appreciate you bringing that up.
Zach Woods, run by Jeff and Melanie Carpenter, and two amazing people in the herbal community, Jeff, and they wrote a great book, and herbal cultivation, and huge contributors. So
well, thank you once again for bringing that up, and maybe we'll officially get going here.
Yeah, let's officially get going.
Awesome. Well, I want to say welcome to John Gallagher to the Herbalist Hour. John, this is the 50th episode of the Herbalist Hour. So
excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And I think it's kind of a fun full circle moment for me, because you've been very influential on my life and career with HerbMentor Radio. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it's really an honor to have you on to get to know you more. So just official welcome to the show.
All right. It's amazing to be here. Mason, you and I have known each other a long time, over a decade or more, and from your days in Mountain Rose and hanging out so many times. And, You're one of my favorite people. So it was like, it's an honor too, because I don't know if I've been on any herbal podcasts. So this is great.
Yeah. Well, welcome. It's good to have you. I would like to get to know you a bit more. I know some of your story, but I'm curious, what was a young John like? What were you like as a kiddo?
How young?
We're talking, let's go 8. What were you like as an 8 to 12-year-old?
So I grew up on the central Jersey Shore area in the 70s and 80s. My parents were city folk from Philadelphia area. So they didn't know much about like connecting us to nature, things like taking us camping or gardening or anything like that. But we got our family had this house in a pretty rural-ish area at the time. A lot of woods around that I played around in. So, it's kind of one of those things where I was connecting to nature without, really knowing it, because I'd go out and always busy, always making forts, always biking around. And that's what people did before video games got too crazy. I mean, I did have a video game, the first ones that are around when I was 10 years old, but they were kind of like, like little blips going around your screen, and you get bored of it and want to go play outside. They weren't too like, I'm just really glad they don't have those games when I was a kid, the ones they have now, because I'd probably get all wrapped up in them. Let's see. It's interesting. I was a creative kid. I was always thinking of making stuff and doing all kinds of things, though I didn't really find like an art, so to speak. Like my brothers were these great drawers, artists, and they could draw, superhero characters and things. And of course, I'm 7, 8 years old. Of course, I couldn't draw like them, but I would just like. So I wouldn't try that hard. I think that I was on or am on some sort of attention deficit spectrum, probably on the very light end of it, because I could never sit still. I was always out. Like I wasn't a reader, I didn't have the patience to draw, to like see it for fruition. And so when I was around like 11 or so, like the very first home computers were coming out, like you've heard of like Apple IIs and, Atari 800s. I had a Commodore 64s. I had an Atari 800. And what that did for me is it gave me a tremendous sense of focus. Like I could really like focus on something and get deep into it. And I did. Like, I think I was one of the first, kids or people of my generation. I'm 53 now, back 40 something years ago, who had like a online service thing. They were called BBSs, bulletin board service or server systems, whatever. And, people will call in, but it was one at a time, and maybe you'd share like a game or something like, download Pac-Man or whatever it was, at the time. And I just got really, really into that. And it enabled me, like I could wrap my head around a project. It's too bad, man, I never had a chance to like learn to do some skills with my hands. Like I think I would have been good like at cars or building things. But my dad just didn't do that. Or he traveled a lot. He's always around. He's an amazing dad. But like, he just didn't have, like, he had 4 kids and he's, figuring all that out. And so I kind of just found computers on my own. And then of course, like when I hit about 14 or so, 13, 14, I was like, I'm never going to get a girlfriend if I use computers, And on top of that, I was at an all boys school. It didn't really help my cause when I started for high school anyway, not in grade school. And when I got to high school, I let go of computers. I tried sports, but I was never good at sports. I was like very extremely average. Like I wouldn't be responsible for the team losing, but I wouldn't also be responsible for the team winning. So like I was just kind of there on the field or the court.
Sure.
So sports were so huge in my high school, and that was kind of a bummer because like, you're awkward, you're trying to, like make friends and stuff. And maybe in my second year, I got into theater. It wasn't a big stretch because my older brothers, who were also the artists, did theater. And so I knew about it and stuff, but I just so I decided to do that. And then there again was something I could be creative around. Like, yeah, first I was on a stage and acting and whatnot, but eventually, like, I learned a lot about backstage and production and in running the marketing of the theater company and all these kinds of things. So I really got into that, and that's kind of like, where the herbal part of things come in, actually, right from that story. But yeah, like I was pretty much doing like production and computers from a really, really young age. But I also really love music. And I listened to music from did a lot of music production, and I was in, little bands and stuff. And I started playing guitar around 18, but I just was obsessed with, like, ever since I was 9 or 10 years old. I had an older brother, like, into music. I had, like, actually Bruce Springsteen living down the street practically from me. So I was a little kid. I thought, like, everyone had a rock star down the street from their house. And he actually still lives right around that same area right now. Like I used to actually, on the way to the baseball field, it wasn't his property back then, but his current property. It's owned by my brother's friend, and I used to, like, bike through that property to shortcut through to the baseball field all the time. So like, yeah. So it was a pretty cool life, I was very lucky. Great family, great place to grow up. Wouldn't change it. So great family.
I love that you brought up the Commodore 64. We actually had one as well, and my brother is a super computer genius, and he used to make programs when he was a young child on the Commodore 64. So yeah, very fond memories of those good old days. But you said that kind of led you into, say, your passion for herbalism and living a more natural lifestyle. What was that transition like?
Weird enough.
Yeah, right. So how'd you plan that?
So by the time I was doing, like I said, I was doing, like, theater in high school, and I also, like, in the very beginning of college, we did summer theater. Like, my friends and I, we kept, like, so we would do, like, we were in shows that were more community theater, so they had more grown-ups in them besides us, like youngins. And we were doing maybe Evita one summer, and we had this idea of making our own theater company. And because they would never do the shows we really wanted to do. And we thought of one show that we could actually, what could we do ourselves? And the simplest one that we always really liked back then, there weren't a ton of options in the 80s, like there are now, so many more musicals and things out there, that we did Godspell, which is like a classic, hippie folk show. And so that was a simple show to put on that we could do from scratch. So me and my really good high school friends, we got together, and we actually made this happen. And not only did we make it happen, like, we, like, out of nowhere, it was like maybe 400 seats in this place. We sold out all 9 nights. We got in papers, like, and I was doing all that marketing. It was not online.
Wow.
So it was like flyers, press releases, that era. There was long before the internet.
Wow.
And so, so we did that, and we even had, like, original cast member from Godspell see it. It was a friend of one of the cast members' brothers, and came and said, like, and that it was, like, the best production they had ever seen, of it, which meant a lot to us. And so it was magic. We just made this magical thing happen. It doesn't really happen that often in life when you just get lightning in a jar like that, when it was just like, it was just so special. And so how that leads to herbs, it's going somewhere, is that we would donate some of we made money. We made all this money, and we didn't no idea that we were going to make money. So after we paid all our bills, we had this chunk of cash left over. Like, for us, it was a lot, like, $4 or $5 grand. We were like, oh my God, that's a lot. And so we donated back to the church that, let us do the show there. They didn't charge us, but we also wanted to help an environmental organization, because I had really gotten into environmental studies in college. Not that I was studying it, but it was more like, I don't want to say a hobby, but something that I did like the groups, just like in the environmental clubs and stuff like that. And so basically we donated some money to Wilderness Awareness School, which was then which was started and founded by John Young, and he's still out there teaching nature awareness, and great guy, good friend and mentor. And that kind of like got me down that track of environmentalism through education, like nature education. Because if you learn what lives and grows around you and how the ecosystems work and everything, you're much more likely to do actions in your life to protect that land and that environment. And that made a lot of sense to me. There's definitely a place for the letter writing and the policy stuff that a lot of environmental clubs were doing, and that's great. But me personally, I really connected with that. And also to me, the biggest thing was a project to take on. So we had donated to that club and the theater company. And then that led to me working and really turning Wilderness Awareness Club, which was a high school club, actually started at my high school in 1985, into a school that did more stuff for adults and children and a bigger thing. And we moved out to Washington in 1995. And we did that because when we came and did guest classes, or, we take it on the road sometimes, whenever we came to Washington, out here, people got what we were talking about. At the time in New Jersey, nobody knew what we were talking about. It was just not. So we came here and everyone's like, oh yeah, that's great. Oh, my friend goes hikes, or I hike, and everyone hikes, everyone was into going outside. So it was a great fertile ground for a nonprofit wilderness school to land and grow. And it has, and it's still around, and it's like, like the biggest wilderness skills school and kids programs in the Seattle area. I haven't worked there in a long time, but that led to then, and then somewhere along the line, early on in '97, I met Kimberly, who's now been my wife for 24 years, but we've been together 26 years. And when we had Rowan, our first son, we have first child, we have a son and a daughter, Rowan and Haley, and he was born in '99. And between like all that experience I just said with the wilderness school, connecting to nature and learning about some basic stuff about plants, and having this child, and I know Mason, you probably have the same story. You're holding your daughter.
Sure.
Did you have that feeling the first time you're kind of holding your daughter and you're looking? In my case, it was my son, and I'm like, how do you, like, where's the instruction manual? What do you do? What are you supposed to do? And also when they get sick, what are you supposed to do? And both of us, I'm sure we knew enough to know that there's a more natural way to help your kids, like when they get basic ailments. And I'm talking about anything super serious. I'm just talking about bumps and bruises and colds and pink eye and ear infections and all the things that the kids get. So then I started, that led to herbs because then I signed up for my first classes. And, but yeah, it was a really roundabout way from all that stuff. And, like my favorite part about the wilderness school and everything was I got to create a school. Like, again, going back to the creative part of me, like I got to form this school with people, and it was really adventurous and really fun. And we were doing amazing work. Yeah.
When you moved from Philadelphia to Washington, was that with your family or was that solo?
So New Jersey.
Oh, New Jersey.
My parents were from Philly, but yeah, gotcha. all the Gallaghers, the distant relatives, are still there. That
makes sense because the boss was in Jersey too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
We just call him Bruce Springsteen, the boss. Okay. A little like just how the locals work. No,
sure.
So when we moved, I came out with everyone. Actually everyone. I mean, it's a big school now, but there was just like 4 of us.
Okay.
And so we came out and landed in Washington, and I met Kimberly through Wilderness Awareness School community.
Gotcha.
Like she was a teacher at a kind of a little sister school that did stuff with us.
Gotcha. So that was with John Young, who have been some of your other say mentors in the herbal realm.
Well, let's see. I had to like write down a few because I want to make sure I don't forget any. I don't really need to look. So the first classes that I took see. Okay, so this is cool. You've interviewed Michael Pilarski, right?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that guy.
Skeeter is like, he was like doing herbal festivals and whatnot since the 70s, early 70s, and in Washington, barter fairs, you name it. So the herbal fair, Northwest Herbal Fair, was a well-established thing by 98. In the summer of 98, Kimberly and I went up to Bellingham where they first did it. And when I took classes there, and I met Erin Van Nee, and she is from Trillium Herbal Medicine. You can look her up. She teaches, I'm sure, still, and does stuff. And it was a handful of 1 day a week classes for like a couple of months. And that was awesome because I could learn a skill at a time. And let's say we made salves or tinctures or whatever 1 week, I could practice and whatnot before you go back and fill your head with more information. Sure. I could take notebooks and journals and things. I mean, you've done classes like that.
Oh yeah.
And at the end of that was over. Kimberly got pregnant during that class, when I was doing that class. And so that was cool. Because then I had a few skills, when Rowan was there, finally I was going to know what maybe to do with, because we both together wanted to learn, even during the pregnancy part, how to do that well. We learned about nourishing herbal infusions and things like that. Like Erin taught us about, putting nettle and oat straw and red raspberry, alfalfa, all those together, like a classic pregnancy tea. And we started making all kinds of remedies together and harvesting plants, all from what I was learned from that class. And then around the time Rome was born, I was put it out there that I wanted to, do something ongoing for multiple years. I was just because I realized that I got to keep learning, and I need a community, and I need, everyone watching this knows that when you started learning about herbs, you look back at that time, it's just where do I start? Where do I go? What direction do I take? And just having handheld a little bit. Right. And so it was the first year, one of the first years of a program on healing from the ground up in Ravencroft Garden. Eagle Song and Sally King both ran that. And they were my really most core mentors through that time. And at the same time in that area, very lucky, it's so many great herbalists in that area. And actually, they're all still teaching too. Yeah. Karen Sherwood, who she does great classes. And that taught me the wild edibles side of thing. It's her specialty. So learning medicine making more at Ravencroft, and then more how to harvest wild plants and how to cook them up and whatnot from Karen. And those were the core first mentors. Those are a great bunch of mentors, I'm telling you.
Seriously.
Probably the best mentoring experience was doing work trade, because I couldn't really afford the program I was in. So they did work trade with me. And
was that with Eagle Song?
With Eagle Song. And I got to spend, oh my God, years and day a week or whatever, weeding Eagle Song's garden and in trade for the class. But Eagle Song would be hanging out doing it too, and would just so much just by hanging out with her, or be shoveling manure in the goat, pen, and and she'd be, I think the foundation of the viewpoint of how what Learning Herbs is and what we do, it comes kind of equally from all my experience with John Young and Wilderness School, but also HerbRally from Ravencroft and Eagle Song.
Love that. I got to meet Eagle Song for the first time, which at an event that you were at, Rootstock. And I go up to Eagle Song's table. She's got this giant Ganoderma mushroom.
Yeah.
And she's like, all right, it's time for you to dance with the Rishi. She had me dancing with a Rishi at her table. It was pretty cool. Yeah, I really like Eagle Song, and I miss her. I haven't seen her in quite some time. So yeah. How did that transition over to starting Learning Herbs, which I want to say is what you're most known for? LearningHerbs.com.
I guess, yeah, it's true. No, it's great to be known for something.
Right? Yeah,
even if it's to all the hippies watching this.
Well, I
I'm
used
really
to be the
happy about that. That's an honor to like that. There's some people out there, right? Don't you like that when you go to an herbal conference or
Some
something?
people are
and
interested.
comes over and goes, "Hey, Mason, how you doing?" And it feels really good to meet people that you're helping.
Amen. Yeah, yeah. No, I used to be the Mountain Rose guy, so I like being known for HerbRally too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's see. Like, so at Wilderness Awareness School, when I was there, well, actually, I just interviewed on our podcast Jason Knight, and Jason Knight teaches wilderness skills, but he had started in that school, within that school, an adult program. And he asked me to come and teach the herbal program because he knew I was taking all these apprenticeships and I knew some information. So maybe 6 times or so throughout that year of this 9-month program, adult program, like a September to May kind of a thing, whatever month that is. And I asked me to teach the herbal part, and I did that for like 6 years. And then, like, I was also at the same time in acupuncture school. I became, and still am, a licensed acupuncturist, I do 5-element acupuncture. And gosh, it was such a bizarre thing, like, because I was thinking, like, how can I like, I have this day a week open, like, which was weird because I had 2 kids and I'm working and I'm going to school, and I'm like, that I could do some work. And I'm trying to figure out, what can I do a day a week? You know, like my friend offered me mowing lawns, but I'm really allergic to grass. So like, I'm like, that wasn't going to work. So at some point, like, I think it came to me in a dream or something, like the name LearningHerbs or something.
Wow.
And then I got up, and of course, the first thing you do is get the .com.
Yeah.
So I was
great
like,
URL.
What's that going to be? Because remember, this is the internet before just blogs were just starting. There was no YouTube or iPhones or social media or Facebook or anything, right? There's none of this. So I had this idea for the herbal remedy kit, which is we still offer. And all this stuff you need to make a tincture and a salve in a box, you know, like I wanted to get people started. So I took that class, all those classes that I was teaching at the school, and I kind of put them all into the kit. You know, I was kind of thinking like I was teaching, and I didn't have internet at my house because there was just dial-up then. DSL was sort of maybe kind of like, I lived out in the woods, and so you dial up. And then there was a new thing called like Wi-Fi. And then I was like, oh my God, you don't even have to plug anything in, you know? But I also didn't have a laptop. Like I had like, so I had some things going against me. We live in this tiny apartment. Like we were like, you know, going to the food bank for food and all this. And the reason is because I was so dedicated to that nonprofit that I helped start that I wasn't like going and getting a job even when I had kids. Like it was a job, but it wasn't like a job that paid. Like it was a nonprofit, you know. I was so committed to that mission, you know, and everything. And then I'm enrolled in acupuncture school because I'm thinking, maybe that'll be what I do for a living, you know. Like I'll do that, and maybe then I can afford children. And so I went into Wilderness Awareness. Like I would go up at night, I would borrow a laptop, and I would go and I would sit outside. And it was a little bit after Haley was born too, 19 years ago, that maybe she'd be in the car seat at night if I maybe put her to sleep, get her to go to sleep.
Sure.
But I would just sit outside the library at night with my laptop open, borrowed laptop, because they were the only people anywhere around with Wi-Fi. And I pretty much created the kit and the the first versions of LearningHerbs, which you can see if you go to waybackmachine.org. Like you can type in learningherbs.com and see, like, go back to 2005 and see what. And I just did that the other day. I'm like, oh my
Come
God.
a long way.
I know.
I've done that with HerbRally too, and it's super embarrassing. And that's what they say: if you're not embarrassed by your first iteration, you're not you're not
right.
Yeah.
So and then 2005, January, I hit the upload button and put the site up. It wasn't really a button. You had to drag and drop all these things into FT. I know I'm not going to go there, but I knew how to do it. It was easy for me to figure out because of my childhood computer stuff and my focus. And I had a new project. It was exciting. Did a lot of graphic design work. I actually taught a graphic design class at a community college too for a couple of years. So I had like that like design for hard good, like making like real products that you can hold in your hand versus a website. But yeah, somebody once said like, yeah, I should make a website to sell this kit. I made the kit first, and then they were like, I'm like, oh, a website. That's interesting. So then LearningHerbs, and it just went from there. Yeah.
So it was the kit first, and then so what was next then? Did you create some sort of educational product? Because that's, I want to say, what I'm most know LearningHerbs for.
The kit's an educational product, and I wanted to make a product that was really fun for people that they can just go hands-on, even though they were remote. I actually had kind of left out at Wilderness Awareness School. I actually created a home study program, and I didn't really know what I was doing in 92 or something when we started it, or 3, I don't know. And but we would type up lessons and print them out and go down to the copy place. I don't even think there was Kinko's quite yet. I think there was Kinko's. We go there, we'd copy them and then mail the lessons out, and people would mail them back. And I created like a database on the little Macs with the little black and white screens. And, it was before there was even, we knew what email was, I think I got our first email address at that time. So I've been doing education not online education since the early 90s. So it's been over 30 years I've been doing it.
Wow.
Distance learning stuff, and 40 something years since I've been using computers. But at the same time, we came out with the kit, we were doing a monthly blog post. They didn't call them blog posts because we didn't know that word yet. Yeah. But we were putting up, we were doing that. Excuse me if there's a car and the alarm in the background, because we're in a town here, and in Fort Townsend, and in tourist season, those car alarms, and I'm talking because maybe this will just go away at some point, but I'll just keep talking. Can you hear it? Can you hear that?
A little bit. Oh, there you go.
Okay, it's not too distracting for you. Okay. So definitely distracting for me. But anyway, so we were doing that and coming out with, there it goes. We stopped.
Nice.
All right. This is just to let you know that we are live, and this is you should just keep that in.
There you go.
And so we were doing that, and it was just part-time, right? Because I'm in acupuncture school, and I only had like it was amazing if we could sell like 10 kits a month. I'd be like, do we sell one? You're always looking to see if you sold one, for the first couple years. It was just me, of course, doing everything, putting it all together. Kimberly, I'm going to say Kimberly helped me with that too. Kimberly wrote a lot of the blog posts. And so the magic came one night when Kimberly was out doing this workshop series. And there were a lot of nights when Rowan and I, when he was around 4 or something, that I was hanging out with Rowan at night just by myself. And so he's about that age when I start taking like board games out and things and trying. And I always put those hippie board games. Sorry, I don't mean it. You can make fun of hippies if you are one.
Exactly. I'm the same way. I say it liberally too, because I'm a hippie. It's all good.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd have longer hair if I could.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
But it's
mine all went away.
Great about headphones is they cover the bald spot up.
Exactly.
But in your case, you got the whole head.
No.
So, and then he didn't really like those games, but it was Candyland. I love Candyland. Shoots and ladders every time, right?
Sure.
And then I'm thinking like, wow, what if we like made an educational game that played like Shoots and Ladders and Candyland? And then I immediately thought of the name Wildcraft, and I have it somewhere at home, but I have these crayons like where we both like made a little board, like this little piece of cardboard I have. And Kimberly loves games, big gaming person, big storyteller. She's a storyteller, and she loved that idea. And she took that project on, and with our friend who sadly passed away, Beatriz Mendoza, did the artwork, and they worked together for a long time, couple of years or more, creating the Wildcraft that you see. And we came out with it like maybe 2007 or so, just about the time I was going to finish enough acupuncture school. Wow. And that was the thing that kind of got us noticed by the herbal community, because like I remember like getting the Mountain Rose Herbs catalog. It was long before you were working there, and you were probably in diapers still.
Not quite. I started there in 2010. or 2011. Yeah.
Yeah, just before you got there.
Yeah.
It's only a couple years later.
Yeah.
But I got the catalog, and like in the back page there was like, you know, like Rosemary Glassar's book, a couple other people's books, and Wildcraft was there. And I feel like, whoa, like we just like came on the scene and made this board game, and we're on like Mountain Rose Herbs catalog with like on the same page as Rosemary Gladstar's books. And I'm like,
that's huge.
Whoa, you know, it was so cool. We just loved that. And then that started getting momentum, and it's still to this day. And then a couple years later, fast forward a little bit, and you know, we can talk about it a little bit later too. Then we started HerbMentor.
Yeah.
So, and then we kind of took it from there, a lot of online courses and whatnot. But, you know, started with the kit, but it was really Wildcraft that just like, you know, like gave us confidence. I think when you're an entrepreneur and when you're doing like a home business or something, it's really soul defeating if nobody's buying what you're putting.
Totally.
And so like people,
you probably invested a lot of money in it too, I would imagine.
Yeah. So what happened was really interesting. We didn't have the money for that, right? We wouldn't have had the money for that. But Kimberly's, sadly, Kimberly's grandmother had passed away, and there was like this, you know, small inheritance, maybe 20,000 or 25,000 that she left to her grandkids.
Wow.
And that was exactly how much the games cost, to the art and to get them produced. And that's like, we couldn't have, or even have done it if it wasn't for that.
Oh,
actually, we didn't even think of the money part. We were just making the game like, with index cards and cutouts and things and making the art. And later we went, oh yeah, we got to make these. It's kind of like when we lived in an RV and had our son Rowan. And like we had him at our friend's house because we could have a baby in an RV. Never birthing center or hospital never like crossed our mind.
Right.
And then we bring Rowan home and we're like, I think this RV is too small for a kid. And then we like, you know, moved into it. Kimberly and I are, have some stories. And ironically, my son's initials are RV. Isn't that weird?
Oh, that is
not planned. I didn't even realize that until he was like 15 years old. I'm like, your initials are RV. We lived in an RV when you were born.
That's cool. You seem like the type of guy that gets really excited about an idea and then just kind of moves forward on it. Yeah. 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 I like that about you.
It goes back to your first question. Like,
yeah,
I would
totally.
just be like, go build that fort, go do this,
Right.
like squirrel. Like, I'd be like, you know, thank God for audiobooks. That's how people demand to come out books, I can listen to them. And I
Totally.
can, but I life of me can't sit and read for very long. It's just,
I've been kind of in the same boat,
I'm not
doing the
dyslexic.
audiobooks.
It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, there's no point in getting like diagnosed or whatever at this point in my life.
Right. You seem to have done pretty well. I'd say. It's kind of pointless at this point, but
it's just that go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, it's all good. I would like to, hear more about HerbMentor, but maybe before we get into that, do you have any, say, just general business advice for the herbal entrepreneur, if you will?
Yeah, I do. So, you know, with the kit, like when I was making the kit, and I was just kind of like, I'm just going to like sell a few of these a month. And back to that day a week I had open, it was like, I'm going to like, it would be great if I could make $100 a month, because that's, or maybe $200 a month, because that's maybe what I would get mowing those lawns,
Right.
Really cool. So I'm thinking that. And then there was a marketing, like advisor at the school Wilderness Learning School had all these, like a board of trustees or whatever. And I was talking to him and he's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So you're going to start a business. And I'm like, wait, what? That sounds scary. That sounds hard. I'm not starting a business. I'm just going to sell a product and sell some of them and make some money. He's like,
that's a business.
So first thing I was like, okay.
That's funny.
I need like a bank account. And I went and got the bank account. I have no business experience in training. I took like one little intro business school class in college. The only thing I remember from that whole class, which was the best advice, which is maybe 2 pieces of advice I'll give, that the first thing he said was, do you know what the most important thing in business is? And everyone's raising their hand, one of those big, typical, huge college like lecture halls in Indiana. And everyone's like, money, this, that, whatever. And he's like, no, communication. That's the most important part. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Anyway, didn't have any business skills, and got the bank account. My friend helped me set up like QuickBooks. All right, that was around, and just to keep track. And I could do that level of it. But in time, as things happened and Learning Herbs grew, I was able to get help for the things that I was going to. In fact, my accountant had an intervention with me to say, John, stop doing your own books. Don't do anything to do with money and deadlines and taxes. You can't do this anymore. You're just not good at it. And I was just like, he's the next guy, very truthful. I got help. I did get help. I got help during my business intervention. But my point is, why I'm telling you that story, is that if you are like me, a person who would rather click around on a computer and make stuff, or make stuff with your hands, or go out and make herbal remedies, and you have a beautiful idea and you make these great salves and you make lotions and tinctures, or you have an amazing green thumb and you have these beautiful flowers that you grow, or herbs that whatever it is, don't let the fact that you may not be good at numbers and business stop you, because there's always someone in the community. There are resources, like we have a little co-working place, or the Chamber of Commerce. I see sometimes, like, intro to business workshop, people might, or online, of course, you can learn lots, but I would go with local, because online can get really overwhelming when you're starting out and that stuff, if you can. But just my point is, just don't let anything like that stop you from making your idea, your dream possible. Because it's not hard. Like, business plan, okay, that sounds scary, but it's not really. I didn't make a business plan. I haven't even made a resume yet. Like, I'm 53 and I don't even, my son's like showing me his resume. I'm like, oh,
I don't have one of those.
I made one of those. I went right from college to like the wilderness school to like coming out here and starting Learning Herbs in an acupuncture practice. I just like
didn't need it.
Yeah.
So if I'm understanding part of your business advice, does any of that have to do with, say, hiring, like your weaknesses, or you're saying also learn the skills you need to do the various tasks in your own business?
Oh, I think that oftentimes people, and it's a little bit dangerous these days, because you see websites like mine or yours, or our good friend Rosalie, or you see like these things, and you can get intimidated if that's what you want to do, like online education. Or you might see, like, go to a health food store or a farmer's market and see something being sold that you can't let that stop you from just bringing your voice and vision out. And I believe in starting really small. So let's say you were like doing our business, right? Like our businesses, I would just do free, like as much free stuff as you can. Use PayPal to take the money. Use a free blog software, use anything free until you actually start, before you start, motorcycles.
Wow.
There's probably like a whole bunch of Harleys going by along the main street. I love being downtown and seeing the water out there and stuff, but it can get a little noisy.
Totally. No worries.
But as I was saying, free stuff is good. And then I think, like, when it's time to take on a team member, in my case, like in the online world, it was like, they called them virtual assistants, someone to maybe help with you with your email, or get back to some customer service emails, things like that. You take on a team member and then you learn about that. I'm just, because the way I learn as I go along. Yeah. And some people like to absorb and see everything and have the whole plan before they do anything. And, somebody said, or I don't know who, like perfect is the enemy of done, or whatever, or something like that. And it's just like, just like do it and get something up and take it one little step at a time. It doesn't have to be perfect, and when it's time for team and whatnot, you can't take on team people until you have the money to pay them anyway. So worry about that later. And there are plenty of resources. You can ask me or Mason. There's like plenty of resources out there when you're ready for that to get some good advice. Actually, there's a great book called The People Part, and it's by Annie Pratt. She's a friend of mine, and she teach all about teams and the importance of that and how to do that. So the people part, new book.
Okay. I will check that out.
Hay House Publishers, who's published our 3 books.
Really? Okay. Is that how you met her?
Yes,
okay.
I am in a online entrepreneur group. I have like a mastermind group, and I really recommend that too. Like, if you could find people similar to what you're doing, or maybe the same level of marketing, but not in the same niche or whatever. I've been doing this for 13 years. I've been in that group, and Annie's part of that, and that's how I met folks at Hay House and got to be published by them and stuff.
I've always been curious, how would one go about seeking out a mentorship group, or not a mentorship, but a mastermind group? Because I've heard of these throughout the years. And I have, like, say, over the years, I've had like accountability buddies is what we call them, to stay accountable to various projects and whatnot. But how does one go about getting a mastermind, and how often do you all meet?
That's a really good question. So the way I happened for me, so what I would recommend is that when Wildcraft came out, I had the story is I had like 1,500 board games, and they were like delivered. They were delivered by, I never, again, not thinking it through, which is my way of doing it. I had this semi come down the street, like totally confused, like where's the loading dock?
Right.
And he pulled up in the cul-de-sac. I didn't have obviously loading dock, so I got like some of the neighborhood kids, like the babysitter's brother, and he got kids together, and they're unloading the boxes into the garage, all the way down the hallway. My whole downstairs was filled with boxes, and
wow.
What would you do in that situation? Freak out.
Yeah.
And so I put an email out to my Learning Herbs community that was like maybe 1,500 people on the mailing list at the time, back in 2007 or whatever. Yeah. And I said, hey, I've got this board game, and like 12 people bought it. And I was like, shoot.
Yeah.
How am I going to do this? So I Google how to launch a product, and because Google's around, Google's new. And and then this thing called Product Launch Formula popped up by Jeff Walker. He has a book called Launch. So you don't have to buy his product. You can actually you can go get another great book, Launch by Jeff Walker, mentor of mine in that. And he's the one who runs that mastermind group. And so not that you have to join that group, but what I say is sometimes when you do a core level program, like a Product Launch Formula or whatever, you meet people.
Okay.
And when you have a connection with people, like you can then ask, like, who wants to make a mastermind group? So I know people who have joined official ones from like business and marketing people, and those are pretty expensive usually, and not a great place to start. Again, don't spend it until you have it. But before that, I did do some, like at these events I went to, I would meet other people in all kinds of markets, and we would just every once in a while schedule that meeting. So for my group, we meet 3 times a year in person. At the moment, that's how it's always kind of shifted and changed, but it's really up to you and what you want to do. Some people meet monthly. Sometimes it's a group of a group of 3 people or 5 people or 10 people. I think if you're doing it over Zoom and whatnot, like 5 to 10 is a good number. So at least you have a few people showing up to the meetings and helping each other out, but you have to commit, and then you just bring your problem or challenges rather to the group and be like, hey, I want to, do this launch for this book, or make this book. Like, what do you recommend I do? Like, how do I find a publisher? Where do I do this, that, and that? So yeah, lots of ways.
Very cool. Yeah. It sounds like you could just almost take the initiative and form one yourself, say with the peers that you already know, or you could Google it as well. Well, very good, John. It is 3:51 for me. I don't want to take up too much of your time.
I can. I got all day.
Okay, I'm down to keep. I'm down to keep going down this checklist.
Just keep going.
All right. So, all right, cool.
I love hanging. It's been so long. I love hanging.
It has been a while. So awesome. Well, thank you for the business advice, John. Kind of in the same sphere. Why don't we? Do you have any marketing advice for the herbalist?
Yeah. Well, first, I would definitely get that book launched by Jeff Walker. that I just mentioned. But just like you look, one red flag people have from starting business, like I said, is like that whole thing I just said about, oh, this sounds scary, why not just do it? With marketing, a lot of times people think like this is like scammy or like a used car salesman. They think of like advertising. This is what comes to mind. And that's not the case. You have to think to yourself, ask yourself the question, what will the world be like if I don't share my gifts and what I have to share?
Love that.
You know, and to have a big vision and what you want to do. And think of marketing like, I'm sure everybody listening or watching this, it goes to a farmer's market or co-op or something, but definitely farmers markets are everywhere, right? So you go to farmers markets, and the farmers market has been around for hundreds of thousands of years. And if you can imagine going to that market in different stalls and booths people have where they're selling their wares or they're selling their vegetables, is you make connections with those people over time. You might go to a certain vegetable grower, and maybe every time you go, that vegetable grower like gives your son an apple or something. And you're like, oh, thanks, Tom, for the apple. And then the next time you go, hey, Tom, how you doing? And like, how are your kids doing? And how's the farm? And so in other words, marketing's relationships, right? And you're going just market farmers market, I always think. And then like you just go on to the farmers market and you're sharing what the great stuff you have with the world, and you're being cool and kind and establishing relationships with people, being generous and all the things that you would imagine. So it means that what that means for me is that when I market, I'm usually making free stuff and sharing it with people. That's all I'm doing. And then on the side, I say, hey, I have this board game. I have this, site, or I have, if you're interested, get a copy. Just like, if you like my free apple and the relationship we're having, buy your vegetables from me,
I love that analogy, and I think that's great. And herbalists can definitely take that advice and use it in so many different ways, because herbalists have so much knowledge to share. So really, really nice mindset shift there. It doesn't have to be sleazy, and I like to think that
it shouldn't be sleazy.
Right? Exactly.
Why would you do something you didn't want to do? That's the other thing. I've always been like, since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I always just do what I want to do, and I just go and do it.
Amen. Amen.
I'm just stubborn that way.
I love it. Well, awesome. Thanks for the business and marketing advice. Now, selfish question. Do you have any advice for, say, working with your spouse?
Yeah.
You've got a lot of experience in that realm.
Because you work with your spouse.
That's right.
I worked with my spouse.
I like to think that others might get some value out of this as well, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, I think like every relationship, right, it's different, and how you work together is different, or what tasks you're doing. Like Kimberly, like she made herb fairies, wrote those books. She wrote Aphrodisiac. She was, as the kids were young, and she had more like all over the place, driving them or whatever, school and picking them up, or homeschooling. She homeschooled for a long time. Yeah, pretty much like, she would be more project based like that. I'm going to work on the game, then I'm going to work on these books, and then I'm going to work on something else. Nowadays, she's doing a lot of the blog work with Tara here at LearningHerbs, and like bringing writers in, things like that. And she does that like really like part time. But we both are co-founders, and we're both our CEOs. She's the CEO that works and nurtures the team, and like that we're working with. Like, there's, besides the two of us, there's 8 other people on our team, right? Things like customer service and computer stuff and the web page and all these things that you can imagine, and that we need, and I kind of look outward and just think like, oh, what are we going to do next, or what project are we going to do next, or how are we going to do this promotion. And so we found our way of working with each other. But you'll find that when you go and like, say that Annie Pratt book, The People Part, like, you're going to find that like there's a lot about working with team that's just relationship work. Like, if you're working with team, it's a relationship, and with your spouse, it's a relationship. So like, it's interesting how like a lot of that advice crosses over. So if you're in like marriage counseling, then like probably like a lot of that information will work for how you work with your team. So
good point.
Yeah, and it goes back to what I said, like remember that word that professor said that first day, what's the most important thing in business? Communication.
Yeah.
So it's really about communication. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. We're constantly working on that both inside and outside of the business. So yeah, you can never communicate enough or clearly enough.
And I also like, it's weird, like, because, you know, I started, well, I was interested in plants before I had children, like I said before, but I didn't really do it until I had kids, you know? And that was like my, you know, like kick in the butt to go out and find a workshop. Also, there weren't like plant workshop stuff on the East Coast at the time that I could find anyway in New Jersey, right? And there were a ton out here. So yeah, sure, I'm going to do this. But you know, when our children were involved, you know, wildcraft, herb fairies, like our core like products we're known most for. So we kind of think of Learning Herbs as like our third child in a way. So, and we're empty nesters now. Like our kids don't live at home, and you know, Haley's in college and Rowan's lives in Seattle doing his thing. He's 24, almost 25.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so, you know, we're home, and I always usually hold this thing. Rowan made this in glass blowing class, I think, when he was like 8 years old or something. So we just think of it as our third child, and so these days, instead of talking a lot about like what we should do for the kids, we'll talk at home about what we should do at Learning Herbs and stuff. But yeah, you can't let it rule your whole part of your life. You definitely have to take a lot of breaks and make sure you go have fun. Yeah.
Yeah, Amanda's made weekends mandatory now, taking weekends off, and hopefully during the off time, I'm not constantly bringing up HerbRally stuff, because I have a tendency to do that because I'm so passionate about it. She is too, but yeah, I just constantly think of these ideas and constantly bringing them up. But yes, it's important to have the separation. And awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. I was talking to you pre-call about this segment we've got called Giving Flowers. And this is a segment where I allow the guest an opportunity to publicly thank someone that's been helpful in their life or their herbal journey, or both. And I was just curious if anyone comes to mind. If I say, John, who would you like to give your flowers to? Is there anyone that you'd like to?
Oh God, there'd be so many people.
Right.
I mean, like Eagle Song Sally, Karen, Aaron, I mentioned before, my family, Rosalie Delafore, because we worked together for so long. And she's such a passionate herbalist, and that was an honor. And a lot of herbalists early on at Learning Herbs, like, that really helped us was like, really like, were really kind. Or like Cheryl Tilner, like, helped us like on our first like time, like when I wanted to make HerbMentor. Yeah, and she was like, "Sure, film it at my conference." Skeeter, cool. Talked about Skeeter before. Jim McDonald, Rosemary Glastar, Seven Song, KP Tulsa, Thomas Easley. Too many. Sean Donnell, Mountain Rose.
Yep. Yeah. Shout out, Sean.
I got too many. You got too many people.
That's fair. Many
more.
Yep. Many more to come, I'm sure. So right on. Well, thank you. So speaking of flowers, are there any plants that are particularly are you enthusiastic about currently?
Well, I'm going to say that my all-time plant that we'll always bring up is dandelion. It's in our logo. And the reason is because dandelions are like this poster child for the herbicide companies. Yes. And the reason why I got into environmental stuff is because I went home one time after college, and I noticed that I couldn't hear the frogs anymore, and the salamanders, and I didn't find the salamanders under the logs like I used to as a kid, and the turtles and all the things that were rich in biodiversity, and the birds weren't there as much. And I realized that, I'm here in this suburban area, and all these people were using Kenlon over the years, right? And all these Monsanto, whatever, Roundup, they always use that. Like, you always see the commercial every spring, that dandelion, like, oh, what a beautiful dandelion. And then all of a sudden this this spray bottle comes up into the commercial and sprays it and kills it and withers. And it's just like, oh my God, why are you doing this to this incredible medicine? This medicine that is actually can heal the damage that those poisons will do. So we all know about dandelion and its many gifts and ultimate survival plant. And that's why I always like the dandelion's my main thing. And, get those seeds and you blow the seeds and so I'm always envisioning the seeds of learning herbs and going out and, landing somewhere, and I never know where they land. Somebody
That's beautiful. And I got to say, I said earlier, you've been very influential on my work. And I don't know if you know this or not, but the dandelion's also in the HerbRally logo. I don't want to say it's specifically us copying you or something. It was also, I call it my gateway herb. It was the first herb that I was like, holy shit, you could eat the leaves of this wild plant, this very common wild plant. And I've been very influenced by dandelion as well. And it just so happens it's also in our logo. But I also wanted to say during our RV trips with Amanda, we stopped at this one RV park, and by the looks of it, this lady was temporarily living there, and they were using Roundup on the dandelions in their RV plot. And it was very bizarre to see someone using Roundup on a plot of land that they're not even going to be living in. So they're just poisoning the earth and the dandelion for no reason.
I got poisoned.
Yeah. I'm on a roll right now. So I wanted to say, when I originally brought up the whole giving flowers segment to you, I actually wanted to, I got so excited about talking about this other stuff. I forgot to say, I wanted to give you flowers, John, because as I was alluding to in the beginning, you've I want to say, I don't know when you started HerbMentor Radio, but that was really when I first started becoming super gung-ho about
7 or 8 or something.
Okay, yeah, I probably started listening to it in maybe 2009 then. I was I want to say an early member, and it wasn't even on the podcast platforms at the time, I don't think. I think it was only in the member area.
I didn't really know what a podcast meant.
Sure.
I just put the audio file in herbmentor.com.
But I just...
and I was like, oh, I should.
Well, it was cool though. It was cool. It was like a fun member perk, and those were very influential to me because I feel like I met, I want to say like 60 of the herbalists in the community or something like that. And I think I just started becoming, the events person for Mountain Rose shortly after that. And I felt when I would go to conferences, I felt like I already knew a lot of these people. And that's, thanks to you. And I remember meeting you at the International Herb Symposium and be like, I kind of feel like I already know you and stuff like that. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, I'll give my flowers to you. We also, so you and I had a pretty decently long chat. I want to say a few months back, maybe it was even 8 months ago. But during our phone call, we talked a little. It was kind of about HerbRally starting a membership site, and you were just so kind and supportive about the whole thing. And you were talking about competition versus cooperation in the herbal community. And I was just curious if you had any thoughts about that.
Yeah, I do. I think. And just like Herbal Schoolhouse, HerbMentor is our LearningHerbs membership site, and it's been around, I don't know, like 17 years or something.
Wow.
Still going.
That's wild. So cool.
And I think when I was a kid, I wasn't competitive. I'd always if I was better at basketball than the person I was playing, I would just let the person win because it was more important to them. I really don't care.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to prove or win.
Sure.
And my wife and I, when we made Wildcraft, it's a cooperative board game. It's and I find that when we work together, we're stronger. And we're trying to train herbalists here. We need more herbalists.
Here.
What's competition going to do? There's plenty of room and whatever for everyone. I mean, you could walk down I remember going to a street in Seattle, and there was the whole street seemed like it was nothing but a street of massage therapist office. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of massage therapists on the street. And I'm like, but the thing is, only so many people go to each person, right? They find their therapist, just right. Everyone finds their teacher and their mentors. There's so a big part of Learning Herbs and HerbMentor, especially HerbMentor, has been in the podcast, was to make connections with people. If you're listening to my podcast, I want you to meet this herbalist and go learn with them. Maybe they run a school. Maybe this is your mentor. Maybe this is a person that you can buy their book and learn from. So we're only stronger when we work. We're only strong when we all work together. And based on my experience, at least the people like you that I work with and whatnot, I mostly only come across people with that mindset. Maybe that's just what I manifest. I don't know. Like I don't like.
Yeah. It could be.
I think I just attract people that vibe with me and think like I do. Maybe I don't know.
Makes
like
sense. Yeah. I mean, it's what's that one phrase? Another one, a rising tide lifts all boats. That's kind of how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
We're all going to be better off by promoting each other and working together and everything. So yeah, if the goal is to have an herbalist in every home, then we should probably cooperate as opposed to be hardcore
or
competitive.
At least in every neighborhood or every community.
Right.
So I think that's important.
Love that. Well, along the same lines, we've asked this question a few times on the show. It's an audience submitted question, but if I were to ask you, what does the herbal industry or community need most right now besides more herbalists? What would that be?
That's funny. The word herbal industry. I know, like that's like bigger where you came from, Mountain Rose, because you're
totally,
and it's like it isn't. Part of it's an industry,
right? Yeah,
I've just kind of been in my own little like corner of the internet and education for the people that want to do it yourselfers and stuff like that.
Right.
So I think that what we need is the mindset. I think of what I was like just saying about like of herbalists being in every community. And I think that what people can do is, let's say they're learning from HerbRally, learning from Learning Herbs, and chances are they're learning from both of us. chances are, like, we don't have one herbal teacher.
Right. No.
Like we, right. Like, like I learned from a lot of different herbalists. Like, so why would anyone think that like, oh, you only learn with me? Like, that's just stupid. I
got to say, I learned with, KP Colsa first, and then I took Columbine school, and I went to Portland. I took the Arctos school, and I've said this a few times, but I'm like, shoot, it's been a few years since my last apprenticeship. It's time to go to another herb school. Yeah. So to your point.
Yeah. So if you're like listening and a handful of plants, what the herbal industry or community needs is you, the viewer, to look for opportunities in your community to share what you know. There's always going to be something going on in your area. Maybe it's a festival or something at your park or your park system, or maybe you do it independently and you put a little sign up at your co-op and you have people meet you out at the park and take people on an herb walk, show them, when people don't know about these plants, like anything you tell them is gonna like not only help them learn more, but help you learn. You learn best by teaching. Yeah. So teach or get out there or share with your friends. And like when I did that, and I went out to, eventually I taught at Skeeter's thing, and I've taught at herb conferences, and I've done things at parks and whatnot. And I liked when I did that, it gave me an opportunity, or a talk. Like I did talks at REI, like in Seattle. Like I would go to the flagship store down there and talk, do like, slideshow presentations and things. And it got me learning, like by teaching. So that's like really important. So I think we need more people. It needs more people out there sharing,
I love that. It's the spirit of herbalism, really.
And it also needs people getting a whole bunch of dandelion seeds and driving by all the ones that look perfect and onto those yards. That's needed too.
Guerrilla gardening there.
Guerrilla gardening, yes.
Right on. I love it. Very cool. Well, this is a good opportunity now maybe to tell us a little bit more about, say, Learning Herbs, but specifically maybe HerbMentor, the membership area.
So people may not, it always confused people over the years. So Learning Herbs is our company, and we have things like our kit and our board game and books and things, all these like things that are behind me that are on learningherbs.com. But we have a subscription, just like HerbRally has Herbal Schoolhouse, Learning Herbs has HerbMentor. And so HerbMentor is our membership site and community, and it has lots of courses and videos and monographs and a forum community, and and all that. And so that's so you can find out about it all on Learning Herbs.
Very good.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the difference.
I love it. Yeah, it's not too. So Learning Herbs is the parent company essentially.
Well, it's the company. It's not even a parent company.
It's not even okay.
HerbMentor is just as a product that we do, just like we have the board game. There's no wholly owned subsidiaries of Learning Herbs. Or for the other way around.
Oh, thank goodness for that.
It's not that complicated. It's just really me and a few people. Like,
I'm overly confusing it here. All right. Well, very good. Awesome. So kind of in a non-herbal question, but what's something that you like to do totally outside of the realm of, say, herbalism, but I'm also going to throw in, like, say, business and all that stuff as well. What do you like to do? Just a random hobby.
This is stuff I've been thinking about a lot as I've gone into my empty nester years.
Yeah.
I have more time for things. But I used to play a lot of music. And so my daughter, she goes to Oregon State, and she was passing through on her way to a job in Idaho. She's actually like herding cattle this summer in Idaho on an organic farm.
Wow.
She does.
They grew up so fast. Yeah.
She's always
her hobby.
She's a horse person. And so this person hurt themselves at this farm, and the first day on the job they had her out like herding cattle. Wow. Really like, you're what, honey? Oh. No, but she came, she's been singing a lot, and she's like, get the guitar out, Dad, let's sing a few songs. And so and she plays a little guitar, grew up playing piano. So I'm kind of like, thinking about, actually I've taken it out and playing some tunes, so music. Yeah.
Love it. Awesome. Are you would you identify as like an audiophile? Do you? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to like big time audiophile,
right?
But I am auditory, like, for sure. Like I notice, like, I'll obsess over the audio in something, and I'll just like, that's why we're here with our good microphones.
Right. Well, before we moved into our new place in Wisconsin, I was researching like old audio gear. Like we bought a record player and stuff like that, and it was just fun. But you're right, there are people out there that take it to an extreme. So I'm not like that.
I don't take it extreme, because I actually love, like, I used to, like, when I was a kid, I had records like crates and crates and crates, and fill that wall up. And the fact that I can have that plus every other album on this,
right.
I'm okay with it not sounding quite as good. I'm just really lazy, and so this convenience
overrides the
I'm just like, just give me a speaker and my Spotify, I'm good.
I get it. Well, let's do a random question from the Let's Get Deep Friends Edition. Ooh. Yeah, I know. This is the unscripted question here. Mm-hmm. I did that last episode.
This would be like Pictionary. We can draw pictures here.
I like it. This actually...
That's what I'm going to do on my podcast. We're going to do a quick.
I have so many random ideas. Like this is so dumb, but it's fun. You get to know the person.
Absolutely. It's great.
It's random. But yes, go with the Pictionary thing, John. So when you were a kid, what did you think you were going to be when you grew up? This seems appropriate for this conversation today.
At what age?
Yeah, right. I know, right?
I think like on that 8 to 12 or 8 to 9, I was like all about baseball. Then I wanted to be a rock star.
Right.
And then I realized that probably wasn't going to happen. And kind of at the end of college, I was like I went to college for television radio production in Indiana. That was my degree.
Oh, wow.
I was going to do that, and in a way I did eventually, because I did videos and stuff, of course, but we didn't know about the internet at the time, and so I kind of was like, I'm going to go do this wilderness school thing because that sounds cool. I'm going to say that, like, in seriousness, I never had clarity. And I just kind of winged it, and I did everything I told you in this episode, and it just turned out. And what's cool about that is I can look back at every job I've had, hobby, whatever, from, theater, whatnot, all the way through. And it all like adds up to what I get to. And I think that's the coolest thing. And that's what I'm so grateful for in my life, that not only do I get to help people, but I get to do something that uses like all the skills I've developed over the year. Because here's going back to wrapping it back around to childhood.
Sure.
When I was 9 years old, I got my first job. And that was really good for a kid with, attention deficit sort of issues or whatever. I like the way the attention deficit just means like, I can't pay attention. Like I'd always get in trouble with the teachers. Like my mom would come in and be like, Johnny's staring out the window a lot. My mom would call me Johnny. And it's just kind of like, yep, John's staring out the window, imagining something. But no, I was 9 years old and I delivered newspapers. And for a lot of years, until I handed the route over to my sister when she was a teenager. And what's a newspaper? It's a subscription. It's like a membership site for paper. I was doing this since I was 9 years old, and I was going door to door every Friday collecting a couple bucks or $1.70 for a week of each person every week, and they get the 30-cent tip or something, and you get my $2. And that's what's really interesting is that, like, looking back again, I was even doing what I'm doing now when I was 9 years old in 1979, which was like 44 years ago. Nothing's changed.
It all makes sense.
It all makes sense to me.
Very cool. I love it. Yeah, I could totally see the whole story come together for you. It all makes sense to me. Any funner, interesting projects Learning Herbs has coming up that you want to promote or?
Well, I would just say, while you're listening to this podcast, if you are on a podcast app, go look for HerbMentor Radio and subscribe to ours too.
Yeah, there you go.
The easiest thing. But we have we got a cool new thing we're working on. Like a little deck of flashcards for HerbMentor members. Those are coming out, I think.
Nice.
In the fall. Just for people who are HerbMentor members, it kind of like goes in with the site and website. We're working on that. We're excited about that.
That's fun.
If you want to go, but if you go on to Learning Herbs and check it out, and if you like what you see, and sign up for something for free and take it from there, we'll tell you about everything.
Very cool. Well, I'll second the podcast, HerbMentor Radio, and I want to say you hosted it again. Yeah, way back in 2007. So all the old episodes are up, and you've been doing new episodes. I want to say once a month with co-host Tara.
Tara Ruth. And the thing is, like, I did it for like 7 years on HerbMentor, and then I got really busy with making courses like this. Thing I didn't mention for a long time. We did just sold online courses, which we really don't do for the most part anymore, but we did for a long time. And I got so busy. And, talking about business, stuff is that I couldn't handle doing everything anymore. So I kind of let the podcast go, even though it was my favorite part. And I was kind of like wanted to do it again. And wasn't quite ready to do it. And I met Tara Ruth, and she started doing social media with us, and we were just like, let's do this again. And so, we do an interview a month, and we do some other features on there too. Yeah. Well,
you have great guests. I want to say the last episode I listened to was maybe a month or so ago. Susan Leopold and Rosemary Gladstar, for instance. Mm-hmm. So great guests. Well, why don't we wrap up? Maybe we've borderline covered it. But what's your big why, or what's the mission of Learning Herbs, if you will, however you want to take that question?
Our mission is just to make herbalism, healing herbs accessible to everyone. That's our simple big why. And our thing is always to try to inspire and connect people who are just getting into it, bring them along the way, and then help to see where they fit in, because herbs are huge. There's so much you can do: medicine making, gardening, botany. You can do. I'm a kind of jack of all trades home herbalist, but some people just find that they geek out on one particular area or whatnot, and it's so vast. And I think by listening to podcasts like ours, or joining the Herbal Schoolhouse, or checking out Learning Herbs, like things like that, you can kind of find your way to what your calling in all this is. Because it could be anything from, I just simply want to learn how to use these, few herbs, and like, wow, I can use the oregano, lavender, and sage and stuff that I was growing before for my meals. Oh wait, food is medicine? I can just use those herbs. I mean, seriously, you can just learn 4 herbs from your garden and do 300 things with those 4 herbs. That's amazing. Or you might be somebody who just goes deep and finds themselves we've had HerbMentor members start companies doing herbal remedies. We've had people become naturopathic physicians, found their way, just by just winging it, just kind of looking at what's out there. So, and we do that all by just and I'll say we make herbs simple. So that's just something too, like going back to that marketing business thing, like think about that. Like if you're thinking about like doing a business or whatever, what is your why? Like I said, like make healing herbs accessible to everyone. That's very clear. You can see that in your mind, like what can you make happen and see? Like I want to make, I want everyone in my town to be able to have herb gardens. Well, it sounds like you need to grow some starts, do some local classes on planting gardens, and then all of a sudden, maybe in 10 years, your town's going to be covered with like amazing healing herbs. So,
I love that you brought it to the why, which was the question, and then you brought it back to like say good herbal business advice. And I was actually talking to another herbal podcaster, Jennifer Braverman, the other day. They've got the Stories from the Earth podcast, and she said that she read a book called Start with Why by Simon Sinek.
Oh yeah,
so maybe that's another book to check. I've heard him on podcasts
not just
talk
a book,
about it,
but on YouTube he has a TED Talk.
That's right. Maybe I will link to that. That's a great call. Okay, yeah, I'll link to that as well. What a great way to wrap up the show, John. Thanks for spending so much extra time with us today. We really appreciate it.
That was great. It was a lot of fun. I'll come back anytime you want. This is
great.
All
right, we'll do a round two.
We need to get on a Zoom call sometime soon and just catch up because I
just kick it.
The latest adventures.
Yeah, I would really enjoy that. LearningHerbs.com. Thanks again, y'all, for watching and listening. And John, feel free to stay on. We could wrap up. And thanks, y'all. We'll see you in the next episode. Take care.
See y'all.
All right.
I'm not even from Texas, and I said, see y'all. That's how we say it in Jersey.
And that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for listening to the HerbRally podcast. If you'd like to hear more from us here at HerbRally, we now have a text message community, believe it or not. Basically, it's just updates from us. We send about 1 to 7 texts per week, notifying you about new events, videos, courses, podcasts. You get the idea. It's pretty much like our email newsletter, just in text form. So if you'd like to receive text messages from HerbRally, just text JOIN, that's JOIN, to the number 541-256-2895. Again, that's JOIN to number 541-256-2895. And to stop receiving texts, that's easy too. Just text STOP to the same number. It'll opt you out immediately. Okay, thanks again for listening. Have a great rest of your day.